Hello and welcome to Chapter 3, Section 4, where we're solving multi-step inequalities. And these are just like multi-step equations. We're going to start by the number farthest away from the variable. Here we have a 4 multiplied to our f and 160 added to our f, so we're going to get rid of this that's completely not connected to the f first. We're going to subtract 160 from both sides. And we have 4f is smaller than or equal to 340. And we divide both sides by 4. And we get f is smaller than or equal to 85. 7 minus 2t is smaller than or equal to 21. First, I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides so that that becomes 0. I have negative 2t is less than or equal to 14, and I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. I'm dividing by a negative, which means my inequality switches, and t is greater than or equal to negative 7. Negative 4 plus negative 8 is smaller than negative 5c minus 2. Here I'm going to combine these two to negative 12 is less than negative 5c minus 2. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. And negative 10 is less than negative 5c, and I'm going to divide both sides by negative 5. And I'm dividing by a negative, so my inequality switches, and I've got c here and 2 there. And of course, they're going to ask us to graph this. 2 is greater than c, c is smaller, so c is going to go in that direction. Negative 7, a dot there, and t is larger than this, so this goes in that direction, and 85 is way in the heck up here. And f is smaller than or equal to, so I have a closed circle with an arrow in that direction. Here we notice that the problems are getting a little more complicated. 4/5 x plus 1/2 is greater than 3/5. One of the things they recommend doing is multiplying by a number that will get rid of all of your denominators. And 5 and 2 both go into 10. So if I multiply everything by 10 over 1, I have to make sure I distribute this 10 to every single item in this equation. So 5 goes into 5 once and into 10 twice, so this becomes a 6. 10 times 1/2 is 5. 5 goes into 5 once and into 10 twice. 2 times 4 is 8. So now I have 8x plus 5 is greater than 6. I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. 8x is greater than 1, and I divide each side by 8, and x is greater than 1/8. 3 times j plus 41 is less than or equal to 35. I'm going to distribute my 3j plus 123 is less than or equal to 35. I'm going to subtract 123 from both sides. And 3j is less than or equal to negative 88. Divide by 3, divide by 3. And j is less than or equal to 29. 3 goes into 88 29 times with 1 left over, and that's a negative. 4 minus x is greater than 3 times 4 minus 2. Well, 4 minus 2 is 2, and 3 times 2 is 6. So this is 4 minus x is greater than 6. And I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides, and negative x, don't forget that negative sign, is greater than 2. Divide by negative 1, and x is smaller than negative 2. And our word problem. The average weight of John's 2 pumpkins must be greater than 119 pounds. 1 is 887. And when you add 2 of them together and divide by 2, the average has to be greater than 819. So 887 plus the other pumpkin divided by 2 has to be greater than 818. Well, I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 so that those go away, and 887 plus P is greater than 1638, and we're going to subtract 887 from both sides, and P has to be greater than 751 pounds. That should get you through the checkpoint questions for numbers 1, 2, and 3. Please push pause here, do those sets of problems, and then come back. To check it out for number 1, negative 12 is greater than or equal to 3x plus 6. We're going to subtract 6 from both sides to get 3x by itself, and divide each side by 3, and negative 6 is greater than or equal to x. X plus 5 divided by 2 is greater than 3. We're going to multiply each side by 2 to get rid of this. X plus 5 is greater than 6. Subtract 5 from both sides, and x is greater than 1. 1 minus 2n divided by 3 is greater than or equal to 7. We're going to multiply by 3 both sides to get rid of this, so that is all we have left on this side. Greater than or equal to 21. We're going to subtract 1 from both sides, so negative 2n is greater than or equal to 20. And divide by negative 2, and that negative 2 is going to flip our sign around, and n is going to be smaller than or equal to negative 10. And of course they're going to ask us to graph all of these. Negative 6 is a closed dot, and x is smaller than that. 1 is going to be an open dot, and x is larger than that. And then we're going to go down to negative 10, which is a closed dot, and n is smaller than that. If you have any questions, please make sure to ask. Check it out, number 2. 2m plus 5 is greater than 5 squared. We're going to do that 5 squared, then we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. So now we have 2m is greater than 20. Divide each side by 2, and m is greater than 10. And here's our 10 with the open circle, and m is greater. We're going to distribute our 2 to our x plus 4. So now we have 3 plus 2x plus 8 is greater than 3. We're going to combine the 3 and the 8 to 11. Plus 2x is greater than 3. Subtract 11 from both sides. We have 2x is greater than negative 8 divided by 2. X is greater than negative 4. Here's our negative 4 with our open circle, and x is greater than that. 5/8 is less than 3/8 x minus 4. If we multiply everything by 8, we get rid of all of our denominators. So this times 8 is 5, and this times 8 is 3x, and this times 8 is negative 2. I'm going to add 2 to both sides to get rid of this, and I'm left with 3x and 7. And I'm going to divide each side by 3, and 7/3 is smaller than x. 7/3 is 2 1/3, so we're going to find 2 1/3. We're going to do an open circle, and x is greater than that. Check it out, number 3. The average of Jim's 2 test scores must be at least a 90 to make an A in the class. He got a 95 on his first test. When he adds that to his second test and divides by 2, that has to be greater than or equal to 90 so Jim can get an A. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to multiply both sides by 2 so that we get rid of this fraction, and we are left with 95 plus t is greater than or equal to 180. We're going to subtract 95 from both sides, and t, the test score, has to be greater than or equal to 85 points. Your homework for this section starts on page 193. You're going to do numbers 38 through 60. I will see you tomorrow.